Good day, everyone. How are you doing? You are welcome to today's class. I want to believe you enjoyed the last class, and perhaps you lay your hands on the remaining two exercises that I asked you to work on. I guess number 2 and 4. That was the one I asked you to lay your hand upon. So, having done that, let's continue with the lesson. And today we are talking about the present value, the net present value, cash flow, and annuity. Present value, net present value, cash flow, and annuity. And last class we talked about annuity and compound interest. That was what we talked about last week. And from there, we define annuity as a fixed sum paid at a regular interval of time. And the example include the mortgage, the insurance premium, and that installment purchase or instrumental buying or higher purchase payments, as well as the pension. I forgot to mention that pension payments, either uh, the one the employee paying or the payout is at the regular interval of time. Monthly, it could be monthly, it could be quarterly, it could be annually, or any fixed interval of time. That is a annuity, and we could see how we calculated it. That is a very close to the formula of a compound interest. So the annual is the amount of annuity and is calculated in compound interest. So that is that. So now let's move on to the present value, net present value, and the cash flow and the annuity. Now, before we go to the calculation, let's talk about the let's what are the definition of those the parameters of the keywords there. An annuity is a series of equal payment or receipts at evenly spaced interval. That is payment or receipt. Now, I made mention of a pension the other time. Either at the payment level or at the receipt level is still annuity, because when the employee pays while he or she is still working, that's is at regular interval of time, let's say monthly, and when he's receiving his payment at the after retirement is still at a regular interval of time. So example is loan, rent, savings deposit, mortgage payment, insurance payment or premium. As I've mentioned, likewise, the pension payment or receipts. So those are the example of annuity, as I've said before. Now, our today's class will cover calculation on the growing annuity, the perpetuity, and so on and so forth. So let's talk about the perpetuity. Perpetuity from perpetua, that is something that is constant and that has no end. That is a constant stream of identical cash flow with no end. Constant stream of identical cash flow with no end. That it continues. Then present value. What is present value? That's PV. Is the current worth of future cash flow. The current worth of future cash flow. That is the present value. So future cash flow are discounted using discount rate. Why higher discount rate reduce the present value? So when the discount rate is high, then it reduces the present value. When it is low, it increases. So now the next present value is the difference between the present value of inflow and outflow. That is the difference between the present value of inflow and outflow. That is, you subtract one from the other. So these are the, the definition of the keywords that I want to talk about today. Now, let's go into the example and the solution of the present value. Now, for example, now calculate the present value of annuity of 100 naira at 6% for 3 years. Number 2, Shegun contributed 100 naira every 6 months. What will be the present value of the annuity in 3 years at the rate of 3%? And don't forget, present value is the current worth of future cash flow. Now, the formula for calculating the present value is PV is equal to A over R. into 1 minus 1 over 1 plus r raised to power n, where a is the annuity, r is the rate, that's per annum, that's yes, per annum, and n is the number of years. So those are the three parameters we have there. Now let's find solution to the question 1 now. From the question, our A is 100 naira, our R is 6%, that's 0.06. How do we get that? That's 6 over 100. Excuse me. And N is equal to 3. So the PV now, that's 100 all over 0.06 into 1 minus 1 over 1 plus the 0.06 raised to power 3. And when we process that, 1.06 raised to power 3 give us 1, sorry, give us 1.191016. So, and when we process that, our present value will give us 1604 over 6, and it gives a 267 naira 33 kobo. That will be the what, the present value of that amount at the end of the 3 years. So which means if that person is contributing 100 naira at the end of each year, at the end of 3 years, it will give what this value, to give that value. So now let's go to the second one. Shegun contribute 100 naira every 6 months. What will be the present value of the annuity in 3 years at the rate of 3% per annum? Now, they are using the same formula, but this time around, don't forget, I've mentioned it earlier. Since it's paying every 6 months, which means in a year, it's going to pay twice in a year. So in 3 years, that will give 3 times 2 or 2 times 3, which 6. That is twice in a year. Then in 3 years, which means it's going to pay 6 times within the period. So now our A is 100 naira as well. R is 0.03, and N is that's 3 times 2, which is 6. So if you substitute that and we follow meticulously, so the present value will be 541 naira 67 kobo. 541 naira 67 kobo. Now let's talk about the growing annuity now. The formula is different from the first one. Growing annuity, the formula for calculating the present value of an annuity with constant growing rate is given as constant growing rate, that is the rate grows. So is A over R minus G into 1 plus G raised to power N over 1 plus R raised to power N. Our A is the annuity, G is the growing annuity rate in percentage, R is the constant annuity in percentage. So and N is the number of years. So we could see about 2 rates there. One is growing, one is constant. So R is constant, while G is the growing annuity there. So now let's look at the example here now. The example there, okay, we have to calculate the present value of annuity of 1,000 naira for 3 years at 6% annual rate and growing rate of 4%. So number 2, what is the present value of annuity of 1,000 computed biannually with growing rate of 4% and a constant rate of 6% for 3 years? Look at that question as well. So we have to pay attention to that. What is so sorry? Yeah. Okay. Now, okay, let's continue from there. Yes. So now PV. So using the formula, the present value is equal to A over R. Sorry. Present value is equal to A over R minus G into 1 plus G raised to power N and over 1 plus R raised to power N. I've told you G is the growing rate, while R is the constant rate. So substituting into the formula, at the end of the day, our PV will give us 2,777 naira 10 kobo. 2,777 naira 10 kobo. That's what will be the growing rate. That's what will be what the growing annuity with those two rates. Now, for number two, this is paid biannually, that is twice in a year. So our N now in this one will be what, 2 times 3 or 3 times 2, which is 3 years, then 2 times per year, that is a 6. So let's substitute for that as well. And at that now, don't forget that that person is going to pay 6 times. And the annuity is 1,000 naira as well. And the growing rate, oh, so the growing rate is 4. Yeah, that's a 4 over what? That's 4 over 2. That's a 4 over, that is, it's 4% annually and it's going to pay, twice in a year. That's 2%. Then R is a 6 over 2. That's a 3%. Then the number of times, that's a 3 times what? 3 times 2. Please, you have to take note of that because paying the rate is annually, and since it's paying twice, so it's going to what, bring about a reduction in that, divided by 2 by the number of times it pays in a year. So, and following through what the substitution, and we have the present value to be 5,685 naira 67 kobo. 5,685 naira 67 kobo. So that's the solution to the question. So today we talk about present value, the definition. We talk about the example of present value, and with paying annually and buy, that's twice in in a year. Likewise, talk about the growing annuity as well. So the other one is a perpetual, that's constant perpetuity. I'll give you the definition, but let's just pause it so that for better understanding today, let's pause it here today. So okay, let's pause it here today. So next class we'll talk about the perpetuity, constant perpetuity, and the example and constant growing perpetuity as well. After which we look at and we are giving some exercises to lay your hands on. So thank you very much for your time.